So, folks, there is something that we need to talk about that I think is pretty important. Okay, many of you may have heard about the passing of Jonathan Joss, and if you guys aren't familiar with the name, you're probably familiar with some of his work. He played John Redcorn on King of the Hill, very famously. Genuinely one of the funniest guys on King of the Hill, and he's also famous for playing Ken Hotate on Parks and Rec, Chief Ken of the Wamapoke tribe. And one of the things that you should know is that he died very suddenly on a couple days ago. This story makes me really mad and emotional, and I apologize if that comes through here. But like, it's literally one of the most infuriating things I've seen in quite some time. Because if you go, and I've pulled up just like some stories that I was taking a look at the other day. I scrolled through my phone, right, and you find Jonathan Joss killed in San Antonio shooting. King of the Hill voice actor shot and killed in San Antonio. Suspected killer arrested, charged with murder. Dies in shooting at 59. Dies at 59 after being fatally shot. Shot and killed at 59. Killed in Texas. Killed in Texas. What to know about King of the Hill actor, etc., etc., etc. Like it just page after page of this, right? And it's absolutely infuriating. I like 4-5 pages. If you just went and read those articles, the vast majority of them, at best, didn't really have any details about what actually happened. It just says, he had an argument with his neighbor, and according to police and according to witnesses at the scene, and it's just like, oh, okay, so he got into an argument. And if you read some of the other articles, I think maybe it was the CBS one, if I'm remembering correctly, but they actually paint Jonathan Joss as like potentially an aggressor in this circumstance, where they're like, well, his neighbors did say that he was known to be frequently carrying a crossbow, and like a lot of the stories around him paint him as potentially a neighborhood menace of some kind. And it is maybe one of the most infuriating parts about this, that is the angle that the reporters are taking on this. It is infuriating to a degree I cannot put into words. And I want you all to know a couple of things about this story. Number one, he was shot and killed outside of his family home, the home he grew up in. This was his community. He had lived there almost his entire life. Okay? He had a connection to that community, and he stayed there. Another really important thing to know about this story is that Jonathan Joss was an openly gay man. And as you might imagine from his roles as John Redcorn and Ken Hotate, indigenous. And it is disgusting the way that he has been portrayed in most of the mainstream media. And it actively makes me like infuriated. Because one of the interesting things about this horrible tragedy, this horrible crime that was committed, is that there was a witness, a first-hand witness, who was also there. Jonathan Joss's husband, Tristan Kern de Gonzalez. And somehow, in almost all of the initial reporting on this, none of them mention Tristan's account of what happened. It is all according to the San Antonio Police Department. It is according to police, according to police, according to police, according to police. The one on the ground piece of reporting that I saw, and again, maybe I just missed something, but the one on the ground piece of reporting that I saw was from fucking TMZ. Okay? And I'm just going to read you guys the statement that Tristan Kern de Gonzalez posted onto Jonathan Joss's Facebook page. Okay? My husband Jonathan Joss and I were involved in a shooting while checking the mail at the site of our former home. That home was burned down after 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us they would set it on fire. We reported these threats to law enforcement multiple times and nothing was done. Throughout that time, we were harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear they did not accept our relationship. Much of the harassment was openly homophobic. When we returned to the site to check our mail, we discovered the skull of one of our dogs and its harness placed in clear view. This caused both of us severe emotional distress. We began yelling and crying in response to the pain of what we saw. While we were doing this, a man approached us. He started yelling violent homophobic slurs at us. He then raised a gun from his lap and fired. Jonathan and I had no weapons. We were not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side. When the man fired, Jonathan pushed me out of the way. He saved my life. Jonathan is my husband. He gave me more love in our time together than most people ever get. We were newlyweds. We picked Valentine's Day. We were in the process of looking for a trailer and planning our future. He was murdered by someone who could not stand the sight of two men loving each other. I was with him when he passed, and I told him how much he was loved. To everyone who supported him, his fans, his friends, know that he valued you deeply. He saw you as family. My focus now is on protecting Jonathan's legacy and honoring the life we built together. If your concern is how someone coped with trauma or how loudly they speak when recounting injustice and being ignored by authorities, then you never truly cared about my husband. Jonathan saved my life. I will carry that forward, and I will protect what he built. Jonathan Joss died a hero. And the fact that mainstream media keeps reporting on this is like, oh, it was a dispute between neighbors. An argument broke out. No. I'm sorry. Fuck that. I spent like 5 minutes looking into this. The police were called to Jonathan Joss's childhood home where they lived 74 times. 74 times on account of the threats to burn down their home, which eventually did happen. 2 years ago, their home was burned down, or after 2 years of ongoing harassment, their home was burned down. Sorry. Their home was burned down in January. Their dogs were killed. And I'm sorry, I don't understand how someone can report on this as like it's an argument between two neighbors. The San Antonio Police Department isn't even classifying this as a hate crime. When they went to go check their mail, the remains of their dog from the fire had been set up for them to taunt them. And then as they were there in despair, a man rolled up to try and murder both of them. Jonathan Joss was a beloved actor. He was a hero. He was indigenous. And he was killed by the community he grew up in for being gay. There's no other way. There's no way to cut this. You have an eyewitness telling you what happened. You have the police records telling you, oh, hey, time after time, hey, these guys keep threatening to burn down our house. These guys keep threatening to burn down our house. These guys keep threatening to burn down our house. And then mysteriously, the house burns down and nothing is done. Nothing at all is done. And then when they return to get their mail and one of them gets shot dead. And it's the police. What are we to do? It's clearly not a hate crime. Ignore what one of the victims of the crime says. It definitely not a hate crime. I mean, we caught the guy a block away from the site of the shooting, and he says it wasn't a hate crime. So I guess we got to go with that. According to the San Antonio Police Department, it was just a dust up between neighbors. And Jonathan Joss spent his last moments on Earth saving his husband from a guy who rolled up to kill both of them. Yeah, I'm seeing people in chat, like an Entry fan posting. I also just read that he died due to an altercation. Don't like to read the details of how people died when it's apparently not of political relevance, so just didn't check any closer. Yeah, there's something heinous going on in America right now, and I know that this is a bunch of newsrooms trying to avoid talking about a homophobic hate crime that occurred. I don't know. Maybe But I am going to just say it's very bizarre to me that not one mainstream media website that I can go through 5, 6, 7 pages of news results on this story and not a single one mentions that he died saving somebody's life, let alone that he died saving his husband's life, let alone that the killer rolled up shouting homophobic slurs right before he shot one of the men to death. Like, I'm sorry. In any case, like, if a white supremacist rolls up and shoots a black person dead, we would all unanimously just say, oh, that's a hate crime. Absolutely a hate crime. So I don't understand how this is how this is like special in some way, in that it's just, it's just a dispute between neighbors, not a hate crime. It's very bizarre. It's very suspicious. The fact that the police, genuinely, my read on this is the general ACAB take, which is that police didn't do anything in San Antonio because they're lazy as fuck and they don't give a shit about 2 gay men being harassed by their local community, and that when finally push came to shove and one of them was murdered, they don't want to make a bigger deal out of it because they know that they responded to calls, to 74 different calls at that address and did nothing about it. They know, so they try and cover their ass. They try and downplay it. It's disgusting. And I know that like my channel is very small, but I want everyone to know that Jonathan Joss died a hero. And like, I want everyone to know that at the very least, there is an element here of homophobic bigotry. And to be honest with you guys, there's very likely an element here of anti-Indigenous bigotry. Like it's likely a combo of the two, because that man probably thought he could get away with that homophobic hate crime in part because that man was Indigenous. And I'm just so angry. One of the last public appearances of Jonathan Joss was a couple months ago at a King of the Hill reunion panel. I forget exactly where, but he apparently went up to the microphone and just started talking about how, like, he'd been the target of homophobic harassment and his house was burned down, and he was very sad that he wasn't invited onto the panel. And it's just like, he should have been there. John Redcorn is fucking iconic. Like in the echelon of like Indigenous characters on television that like mainstream audiences ever saw, he's like number one. He's like he's the number one guy. You can find like maybe a handful of other examples, like the show Northern Exposure, but like a lot of people would name two Indigenous actors. One would be John Redcorn, and the other would be Ken Hotate. He's both of those guys. And it's just so frustrating. So know that Jonathan Joss died a hero, and know that for whatever reason, mainstream media is not reporting on it. And I am afraid that it is because they are afraid. They're afraid of what those what kind of attention those headlines might bring. And I gotta let you guys know, I'm not fucking afraid. This was a goddamn hate crime. Rest in power, Jonathan Joss. Absolute hero. It's a goddamn shame. It shouldn't have happened. It genuinely shouldn't have happened.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, being flame more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.